to reach out, especially to the students of tourism and hospitality, and present to them with various uh, topics which would be of interest to them and also benefit to them in the not only in the academics and also going forward in the career. Today, the topic is learning travel photography. As you all know, every travel destination has its own look, culture, history, people, feelings, landscape, and stories. And learning how to capture these subjects through photos helps convey the spirit of the place to others, giving them a glimpse of what it might be like to venture here. I can personally relate how before planning a travel, I normally look up Google or the internet for pictures and videos of the destination. So here, what we decide is from what these photographers or the influencers have called make it for a destination. Today, the webinar series is a very special one, as it will briefly showcase on how to start as a travel photographer, especially for those who want to have a career or make it as a hobby. The best way to cover our amazingly beautiful country and its mesmerizing festivals and cultures. And our presenter today, Abhishek Hajela, will also talk how to plan your first trip, choosing the right equipment, and how to start photography, and what are the steps that will make one a travel photographer. Well, now coming to our presenter today, Mr. Abhishek Hajela, it's a kind of a story that is of a Bollywood kind of stuff. You know, I have known Abhishek since 2007, and if you can relate, this is something straight out from the Three Idiots movie, where the character Farhan Qureshi wanted to quit, who wanted to quit his engineering to become a wildlife photographer. Abhishek was in the Vellore Institute of Technology, VIT in Vellore, and where his father wanted him to be an engineer, but his mind was into traveling. So he said goodbye and came down and joined a travel firm. And sitting in the desk was not his job. So he asked his employer for a loan to buy a camera. He started going in initially with his employees groups on photo treks. That's where he had connections with lot many top photographers and who gave him the trick. He did not go to any photo school initially, and it was all what he learned on the field. So this has kind of helped him shape up the his career on what the traveler needs and what a expert photographer looks at. And in fact, you know, it's a great to interact with the travel photographers. You know, in my career, I have had the opportunity to know and work with many renowned travel photographers, and they're amazing team of people who are always fun to be with. Well, now coming to our presenter today, Abhishek Hajela is recipient of the International Nikon Award and has been able to channel his love for photography into a successful career. He leads photography trips with the global photo tour companies. He conducts virtual travel photography workshops with National Geographic Traveler India and works closely like brands like Lonely Planet, Olympus, Manfrotto, Nikon, Goro Gear. And Abhishek is also a writer. Many of his stories have appeared in the travel in-flight magazines of Air India, etc. With this brief introduction, now I open the floor to Abhishek. Abhishek, it's your space. Please take us through this beautiful journey of how to be a travel photographer. Well, I am now going to look for my camera, which is somewhere hidden in my chest, in my cupboard. So all the best. Please join us for this journey with Abhishek Hajela. Thank you.
Thank you, Venkat sir. Good evening, everyone. I hope you guys are doing well and doing something creative in this free time. We all are at home, and as a photographer, it's very difficult to sit at home doing nothing. So I have been working on my images, doing a lot of webinars, and trying to keep myself busy and trying to be creative as much as I can. So now, not wasting any further time, let me share my screen and let's go to the presentation where we can further talk about my journey and how to be a travel photographer. Now, let me share my screen. So Venkat sir has already told you about this, but I'll just quickly, sorry, just a second. Yeah, so I'll just quickly take you through my bio, which is, as Venkat sir said, in 2010-11, I won the Nikon Photography Award, which is a world-renowned competition. And this was actually from where my career really started. Before this, when I was doing photography, like everyone is, no one was taking me seriously, and it was difficult to people to realize that someone can make photography as their career. So it was a difficult time, but I kept on struggling, and finally I won this award. And this really made people realize that, okay, he can do something in photography. And it was a great support from my parents and my employer. They could see that, okay, now he can take this further ahead. Then during this journey, I have been judging several competitions. For Ministry of Tourism in 2017, I judged a competition. For Olympus recently, I judged a photography competition. For National Geographic, I have been taking virtual workshops during this COVID time. Then one of my biggest thing, according to a photography career, was one of my image got featured on the cover page of National Geographic India magazine in November 2017, which I feel is one of the biggest thing that can happen in a photographer's career. So that was, God was really kind that this took place. And then I have been contributing in a lot of renowned publications like Lonely Planet, National Geographic, newspapers like Hindustan Times, Mail Today, HT Mint, and several others. And I was lucky that I got some exhibitions also. I have done an exhibition in the Indian Photography Festival in Hyderabad, the Indian Society of Arts in Vienna, group exhibition with Nikon at NCPA in Mumbai in 2012. And my current work is, as Venkat sir said, that I'm into travel, and I also work in a travel company through which I travel a lot and I conduct photography trips. So this is one of my biggest thing that I do. I work with a lot of American-based photography companies, and I lead trips with them. And I do private photography journeys to Sri Lanka, Jordan, Bhutan, Africa. But India is my biggest market. And I have been working with Ministry of Tourism Incredible India campaign for a long time now. So this was the image for which I won my Nikon award for. This was my winning shot. And this was the thing that took my career ahead. So this is a scene from Haridwar during the Kumbh Mela. And I literally waited for around 5 hours for this shot at one spot. So photography is all about patience, how much patience you have, how much time you can give in. And you just have to practice, practice, and practice. And finally, you'll come up with good stuff. But it takes time. There are no shortcuts to great work. So you have to keep working. This was the image that came on the front page of Nat Geo India. And I was very pleased with this cover. So now I'll just talk about how to begin your travel photography journey. If you're thinking that, okay, we don't want to do a regular job, or if you're inclined towards travel photography, then I have just jotted down a few of the points that I thought when I was starting my journey. So I'm just taking you through my personal experience, how I started and what were the things that I was thinking. The mistakes that I did, I would try that you don't repeat those mistakes. So these are just some points that have come out of my personal experience. These are not points that you'll find in a book. This is a personal journey. So this is the first thing, like set goals and expectations. So if you want to become a photographer, so you have to ask yourself that what is your goal? Do you want to be an amateur or a professional? What do you want to do with photography? What do you want to achieve? Do you want to be a professional photographer? Do you want to earn from photography? Or it can also be a very serious hobby. There is no harm in that. Most of the trips that I lead, most of the photographers that come from US or from other parts of the world, they just have photography as a very serious hobby, and they work somewhere else in IT or whatever profession, but they take photography very seriously and they know that it's their serious hobby. So that's also very fine, and you can do with that also. You don't have to be a professional to enjoy this, to enjoy photography. Then same point, like what is driving you, your motivation, why you want to be a photographer. Because if you lose the drive, then it's very difficult. In the beginning, when you start photography, there has to be a huge fire inside you. What is driving you to be a photographer? If you don't have that drive, and then somehow when you start after 6 months, you'll feel that, oh, nothing is happening. I don't think this is my cup of tea. So the driving force has to be really strong, your motivation, why you are doing photography. So if you stick to it, then it will take some time, but eventually you'll come out with great photographs and you do well in whatever profession you choose. Like, but same with photography, you have to give your 100%. Then the other question, that the one of the most common question is, what is, do you have a stable job? What is, how you'll support yourself, finances. So this is a very question that is, people ask me very often, that how to support your finances. So this you have to figure out on your own, that if you give yourself a year, will you manage? If you don't have a stable job, will you, can you keep on traveling? Can you invest that time, that much time in photography? So somehow when I started, I had a job. I quit that job because it was not giving me enough time to travel. I was in a travel company. I was doing desk job. I used to go on weekends to travel and then come back to office on Monday. I used to, every weekend I was out and I was traveling. I was trying to cover as much ground as I can from Delhi. But then after some time, it was getting difficult because, when you're working, you have to be in the office, and every Monday I had to be there. And somehow the desk job was not something that was my cup of tea. And I had to quit my job, and I was not thinking about finances. I had some savings and I thought, it's okay, I'll, let me give it a try. So I was not worrying about so much about a job or finances, and I was just getting to photography. That's it. So the next point is on that only, how committed are you? So I was very committed on my photography, and that's what kept me moving. And that's, that you also have to ask the same question from yourself, that finances, stable job, and how committed you are. So if you are committed, then nothing can move you. Just keep on going, and one day you'll come out with great images and you'll make a great profession out of photography. So when, now starting your journey, when you start your journey, one of the basic thing that you should have is a good equipment. Without a good equipment, it will be really difficult. And with good equipment, it doesn't necessarily means that you have to have the most expensive equipment. I started with really a very, very basic camera, which I took loans from my company, and half of the money I took from my dad. And then I bought my first camera, and it was hardly 25,000 or something. So you don't have to go to the best camera, but a good equipment always works. So a good DSLR or a mirrorless camera with a basic lens to start is enough. Then there are so many schemes that you can see in the market, no interest EMIs and other schemes that you want to see. And now during 2007-8, the phone cameras were not so good, but now when I see phone cameras, they are excellent. The megapixel quality is amazing. So if you don't want to start with camera, start with your phone. But the only thing with the phone is, people don't take phone camera very seriously. So if you're thinking that, okay, you will work with a phone, then remember to take your phone camera very, very seriously. And there are a lot of apps that you can download in your phone, like Procam, Lightroom Mobile, Snapseed, Hadley, just to get a more professional feel from your smartphones. Then the third point is, when you start your photography journey, you will be all over the place, that where to start from, what to do. When I started, I was searching, I was reading a lot of books about photography. I used to search a lot on YouTube about photography. And now you can take so many online photography class, basic photography class, one-to-one photography walk. YouTube is filled with free photography courses. You can do a 10-day photography course. There are so many things that you can do to learn the basic skills about photography. You don't have to literally invest in a very fancy photography school. There are so many free tutorials you can take use of. So just go on YouTube, just type in basic photography tutorial and you'll get everything there. Then join a camera club. There are so many camera clubs or WhatsApp groups about photography. All the major cities have photo clubs. What will happen, you'll start socializing with other photographers, and slowly you'll get to know that what is happening in the world of photography. You'll get to see other photographers every weekend, start going out with other photographers. And this will really, you'll start thinking more about photography, meet other photography teachers, fellow photographers. So this way, you'll get to know what is happening in photography, what people talk about in photography. And this is a really good start. So do a basic photography course, join a photography club, start meeting more photographers, go on to these weekend walks, weekend photography classes. This will really give you more confidence to start your journey. Then these are just some points when you're ready to jump into photography. So be very serious about learning the art. I did a very small short-term course about photography on a weekend, and I used to ask the maximum question from my teacher. So if you do a small course somewhere, or if you get to know a teacher, about photography teacher, you have to be really serious about learning this art, because the more serious you are in the beginning, the better results you'll get to see when you're on the ground. You should know everything about how to shoot, what your camera works for, what is, the basics, aperture, shutter speed. You should be very clear about the fundamentals about photography. Photoshop and Lightroom are the easiest. Lightroom is the easiest software that you can use to edit your images. Download a Lightroom version on your computer, start fiddling with it. It's very easy to learn. Complete all the assignments given by your teacher. If you plan to go on a photography weekend course, your teacher would give you assignments, so try and complete them. Then one of the biggest inspiration you'll get from the masters. So follow them on Instagram and Facebook. Invest your time in looking at work of great masters like Raghu Rai, Steve McCurry, Ansel Adams. So these are some of the best photography names in the world. And if you see their work, they'll really inspire you. So even now, when I get time, I see a photography book. Now, even during this time, COVID time, I have a lot of photography books, a lot of photo books, and every morning I take one book, I go through it, and this just open up your creativity. When you see at other work, you get inspired. I'm not telling you to copy them, but you get inspired from masters. So it's very important to look at the work that these great photographers have already done. So once you are through with this, it's time to travel. So once you know your camera, the basics of your camera, so now it's the time that you can start traveling. So as I did, I covered one of my favorite city to start with. I think my first trip that I did was to cover the Holi festival. That's what I did my first. So that's what I'm saying here, that photograph a place that means something to you, like Golden Temple. Many people are fond of, who are into Sikhism, or they have heard about Golden Temple, or the city of Varanasi, the blue city of Jodhpur. These are the places, they're very easy to photograph, and people love these pictures from these cities. So when you make your first trip, try to go to a place which is very easy and accommodate photographers. Or a colorful festival, or a beautiful village is also great for making images. Also, don't forget, this can be your city too. If you live in Delhi, I talk to photographers and they have never been to Qutub Minar or they have never been to Humayun's tomb. If you stay in Mumbai, many people have not been to Dharavi or not been to Dhobi Ghat or Gateway of India or Kolaba or that side. So I would say if you don't want to travel right now, try and cover your city as much as you can. Photograph your city as much as you can. This will really open up your fear about the camera. Some people cannot shoot uh, other people because they are just scared that how they should approach people when they photograph. So photographing in your own city will really open up and you'll be more confident with your camera. Then venture out with your new photography friends. This is really important. When you make new photography friends, you should try and go out with them. If you go out with regular people who are not into photography, they'll get bored that you are doing photography, and it will be a great disturbance for you also. So try and make your trips with other photographers, fellow photographers. So these are just few tips that I want to give you when you start your first trip, because now I think they're very, very important. When I started, I thought that it's not important, but slowly over the time, I have realized that these are some of the most important things and I should have done it. And now I do it when I do my trips. So research, see what's the best time to go to a place if you're planning a trip, what to expect, places to photograph, interesting street. Sometimes you go to a great place and when you come back, you realize that, oh, this event was taking place right in the city, but you had no idea and you were there. Or there was a great street that no one told you. So do a lot of research before going to a new city. Study reference images. This is another very important point. You should see what other professional photographers have captured. This will really help you in seeing your frame better. Sometimes you go to a city like Jodhpur and you see a beautiful image which was done by a photographer. So this way you'll know that, okay, people have done this and you can take a reference and try and recreate a scene that a professional photographer has already done. And this will also give you a lot of confidence when you start seeing that your pictures are coming out more professionally and your pictures are getting closer to what professional photographers are shooting. So do a lot of research, study reference images, get in touch with locals. It's always helpful to have a local guide or a local friend to help you explore the area you are visiting. So this is another very, very important point. Supposedly, if you are going to a place like Kohima, if you don't know the local language, it will be really difficult to interact with people. So have a local guide or a friend who can interact for you. This will really open up doors. You can go to people's houses, photograph them. But if you don't speak the local language, it's really difficult. So always get in touch with locals. This is really an important point. Man, these are just two practical points. Track appropriately and take only what you can carry. This is very practical approach. Only carry stuff that you can carry on your own. Sometimes if you're in a city and suddenly you realize that, okay, there's a festival that is taking place 30 miles away from the city and there is no hotel to stay. So you just have to go and come back. So if you have a lot of stuff, then you can't go because you cannot leave your stuff anywhere. So always carry light appropriately and only take what you can carry. You cannot always trust on other people to carry your stuff. So this is a very practical point here. Then have only one camera bag. Make sure you have appropriate lenses, sufficient memory cards, enough space to back up your laptop and external drive. So again, this is very practical on the ground tip. Sometimes you go to let's say you go to a place like Kumbh Mela and you are taking amazing images and suddenly you realize that you don't have enough memory cards. So now you cannot buy memory cards in a place like Kumbh Mela. So always be ready. So always have more sufficient memory cards, enough space to back up something. Sometimes if your laptop fails, then what you'll do, you should have a backup drive, things like that. So these are practical approach which you learn when you start traveling. So I feel we are lucky that we are in India. and India is the best country for photographers. It's a mecca for photographers. And I've been leading trips with American and other nationalities. And I mean, I'm just lucky that I'm an Indian and we live in this beautiful country. Oops, sorry. So I feel the best way to cover our beautiful country is through its festivals. So festivals are the best way to start building your image bank. And India has some outstanding festivals. And also one of the biggest thing is when you try and go to a festival, most of the people are already happy because it's a happy atmosphere. So no one will mind when you take pictures of people in festivals. So I would say, if no matter where you live, try and see what all festival takes place in your area and start covering them. This will really give you good images, colorful images, and a lot of people images. Some of my favorite festivals are, of course, the Holi festival in Mathura, Hola Mohalla, which falls on Holi, and this festival takes place in Anandpur Sahib, which is near Chandigarh. Then the world famous Pushkar Fair. In Rajasthan, there are a lot of festivals like Pushkar Fair, Nagaur Fair, Jaisalmer Fair. So try and cover all the festivals in Rajasthan and Gujarat. Then the Puri Rath Yatra, which takes place in July. It's another amazing festival. Hornbill Festival, which takes place in Kohima during the beginning of December, 1st to 10th of December. An amazing festival to see all the tribes from the northeast of our country. Then the Dashera festival in Varanasi, Durga Puja, which is now celebrated almost everywhere, but if you can go to Kolkata, nothing like it. Then Ganesh Chaturthi, which is again an amazing festival. If you can go to Mumbai, nothing like it. Then the mass dance festival that takes place in Ladakh or Spiti. Most of the monasteries have mass dance festivals. Try and see the dates. Hemis is one of the most popular ones. I would suggest that go to a less popular festival. This way you'll get more authentic images and you won't have a lot of photographers competing for the same shot. Then South India is also full of images. Pongal is one of the very highlighted festival there. Try and go there during that time. Nehru Trophy boat race, another beautiful festival that takes place in Alleppey. Temple festivals in Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu is full of festivals, and most of them are amazingly beautiful, colorful festivals. So festival is the best thing that you can cover in our country. Then after festivals, you can start covering the popular cities, the heritage buildings and states of our country. You can start with your own city. Like I said, that some photographers live in Delhi, Mumbai, or Hyderabad, and they have not covered their own city. So I would say, start covering your own city, document your own city. This way you'll have come and try and make compelling images of your own city, which are not done before. And after this, go to more popular cities like Varanasi or Amritsar or Jodhpur or Udaipur, the regular nice touristic cities, which will give you very colorful images. And then go to more challenging places like Ladakh, Spiti Valley, which are difficult to access. So start with your city, go to popular cities, and then challenging cities like Ladakh. Okay, now I'll talk about photography. Since right now we were talking about how to start your trip. Now I will talk about when you shoot, what all you have to see. So the art of seeing, this is something that very difficult to learn. If it's art of seeing, if you see, you see. If you don't see, it's very difficult. But I think by learning, by seeing the right images, by learning through the masters, looking at work, what great photographers have done, you are just training your mind to see in a particular way, to see how an artist would see things. So I would say always see a lot of images online. Just keep on seeing how photographers are shooting, how pro photographers are shooting. And this is how you're training your mind to see in a particular way. So now I'll show you some images which are based on composition, framing, and lighting. So when I was covering the festival Holi, I saw everyone have a similar shot, but no one was trying and capturing the real essence, which is the close up of faces. So this is one of my most popular Holi images. So you always have to see what's happening now. This is one of my most favorite images that I took on the banks of Varanasi. These are young Hindu monks and they are coming down to do the sun salutation. So in this image, no one is overlapping each other. There are so many subjects, but still everything is different. They're not overlapping. So this is a very structured image. It's very graphic. You see these stairs. So this is one of my most favorite images. This is again in Varanasi, beautiful evening light. Ladies are drying their saris, a classic image from Varanasi. This is from Kolkata. So you see all the color, the yellow, the auto, the board there. So I'm just seeing the colors and the framing. There's a man sitting inside the taxi. So frame, within the frame, there's another guy sitting in the back. So this is how you just see what's happening and train your brain to see in a particular way. And slowly you'll start capturing the real essence of a city. This is Jodhpur, a very simple scene, but still there are so many people in the frame. No one is overlapping. There is no disturbance. It's a clean shot. It's blue city of Jodhpur. There are two ladies brooming and the girls are getting ready to go to school. So it's a normal everyday shot, but still it's so beautiful when you look at it. This is again from Varanasi, a simple shot, but now you see that how this camera and how he's looking into it make this shot very powerful. This is a shot that I took in Delhi during Eid. So again, this is a pattern. When you break a pattern, it'll always work. So in this image, everyone is bowing down and there is one guy who's standing on the right. And this what makes the image, it's amazing that everyone is bowing down and this guy is just standing. So whenever you break a pattern, it will always work. Again, a classic scene from Varanasi. So these are just simple shots, the right equipment, the right light, and how you see things. It's not very complicated. You just have to have the right vision. That's about it. This is a recent shot that I took a few months back in Saranath. Again, it's a bit funny. These are all monks from Thailand and they get their pictures clicked and then they'll show to their monasteries that they have been here to Saranath. So again, it's how you place your subject. So these are just few tips when you take images. Photography is something I feel it's a very, very organic process. When I started photography, I used to think that it's nearly impossible to take such images when I used to see the masters, Raghu Rai or Steve McCurry. It was almost beyond that how they take such images. But it's a very, very organic process. You keep on doing practice, 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 and suddenly you realize that you can do it and you can start, photographing like masters. So just very, very basic points, but this is what I learned. And I have been, John Isaac is my mentor who retired as the head of photography department from the United Nations. He lives in New York and he taught me, he took me under his wing. And all the training that I got of photography was practical knowledge. I never did like a year-long course on photography. Everything I learned was on the ground. So that's why these are all practical tips that I'm giving you. These are not theoretical tips. Check your background. Sometimes your background is more important than your subject. When we see a beautiful face or something beautiful, we just try and shoot that without realizing how bad or disturbing your background should be. So it has to be a very nice, clean background. No distractions. Again, when you see a beautiful subject, make sure there are no distractions in your frame. Rule of third. It's a very popular rule in photography, the rule of third. But most of the times when we see something nice, we forget about it. So Always keep in mind the rule of third. It always works. Layering, it's a technique where you have 3 to 4 layers in your image and everything works together. Creativity, there is no end to creativity. Now with cameras like GoPro and wide angle lenses in your mobile, you can be as much creative as you want. Perspective, again, it's a creative thing. Taking a straight shot is one thing, but when you take a shot from a very different angle, it gives a new perspective to the audience and they really like it. And I feel eyes is one of the most important part of your image. When you take a picture, if you have a beautiful face, and if the face has beautiful eyes, it will really speak to you and makes your image very, very strong. So again, a very simple image of this Hindu saint, but the background makes it. It's so clean. There are no distractions. Your eyes go straight to his face, his eyes, the tika, beard, and it's a very clean, simple image. So Rebadi is a project that I'm doing right now. I love these guys and their turbans. So I always make sure that when I take their pictures, there are no distractions. So there's a clean blue wall, beautiful light coming from the doorway, and that's it. There are no artificial lights, it's just natural light, no distractions. The rule of third, deliberately I made sure that the horse is at on the left of the frame, not in the center. Because when your subject is in the
Yeah,
center, your eyes,
Abhishek,
yes,
there's questions coming on this rule
on
of
the,
third. People are
okay,
asking, yeah, just can you explain what is rule of third?
yes. Okay, so the rule of third is you draw two parallel lines on your frame and two horizontal lines on your frame, imaginary lines. And where those point meets, those are the point where your eyes go first. So when you see an image, we think that center is the point where our eyes see. But according to artist or scientist, our eyes first go on the left, then they go on the right, and then they come on the center. So when you take a picture, if you can, always try to have your subject either on the left, on the right. It shouldn't be on in the center always. So our eyes first go on the off centers and then come in the center. So make sure your subject, like in this one, I mean, it was very easy for me to move few steps and then the horse would have been right in the middle of the image. But I deliberately made sure that it's on the left. So whenever you take a wide angle, a shot like this, make sure that your subject is either on the left or on the right, not straight in the center. So it will give a much more impact. This is what the rule of third is. Again, creativity, there is no end to it. This is a festival that takes place in Varanasi known as the Bharat Milap. So this is Ram and Lakshman and they're running towards Bharat. And like you see the people on this side, there are people on the other side also. They're all covering this pathway. So I had to literally bend down and I had to make my way through between the legs of these people and then take this shot. So if I was lazy, or I would have thought, oh, it's okay, it's so many people, how can I literally get this shot, then I would have missed it. But then I made sure that I want to take a shot. So I bent down and got my way through the legs of people, and that's how I made this shot. And it came out really well. So creativity will always win. You have to be as much creative as you want to take your shot. So layering, it's a process that will come to you eventually. It's a difficult process. Like in this image, you have a lady in the foreground, which is a subject. Then you have these 7, 8 ladies working. They are also separate. They are not overlapping each other. Then you have the palm trees, coconut trees, and then you have the sky. So there are 3, 4 elements in this image. So most of the people would just shoot these ladies, but then this lady in the foreground really makes the picture and takes it to a next level. So layering is a thing that will slowly come to you. You have to work towards it. It's not so easy to do layering in an image. Then perspective, whenever you shoot a picture in a different angle, it will always work. So try and be as creative and take as many angles as you can. So as I said, eyes, if your subject, sometimes a portrait, eyes can make or break the portrait. If you see beautiful eyes, it's all about the eyes and the face when you take a portrait. So I love making portraits, and this is a girl that I took a picture in Pushkar Fair. She's from a gypsy tribe, and I just loved her face and her eyes, and that's what caught me. And everyone who looks at it, they're just amazed when they look at her. She has such a strong look because of her strong eyes. So these are again very, very practical tips which no book will give you, which I have learned my way. So have patience. Patience is the biggest key when you are photographing, or even when you are in this whole process of being a photographer. You have to have patience. As I said, it's really a very organic approach. You cannot become a photographer overnight. Neither you can just have creativity overnight. So it's an organic process. It will take its time. Have patience, and slowly you will start getting great images. Shoot in the moment. Sometimes when you're shooting, especially in festivals, you have to be quick with your camera, and sometimes things happen and then they don't repeat. So you have to be always ready and shoot in the moment. Sometimes people take so much time in setting everything or in talking to others and then shooting. So for me, if I see something, the first thing is I take the picture rather than you are seeing what else to do, what else is there. So if you see something beautiful, just shoot. Don't wait for anything else. Then work on your shot. Sometimes what happens, we supposedly you are in a vegetable market, you see this beautiful scene, a lady selling, vegetables, and you just go and take a shot, and it comes out good, and you're okay with it. But then you never know that what if you go around and you have a better angle. So if you see something good, if you see, yeah, this is a good frame, this is a nice setting, the light is good, the subject is nice, the background is nice, so then work on your shot. Don't just click and run. Click and run. Don't do like this. If you're in a market, take your time. Maybe just have one image, but work on your shot. Sometimes I have taken 45 minutes in a single location because I know that there's something amazing in this location. Sometimes when you walk in a city like Varanasi, you come across a beautiful wall, and you know that this wall is beautiful, and if someone will pass, you'll have a great image. So then just wait for that right moment. You may have to wait for half an hour, and then a beautiful lady will walk by, and then that's the time when you take the shot. Often check your camera settings. This is again a very, very practical tip. Sometimes when you're shooting on the ground, you change your camera settings for one particular shot and then you just forget. Or sometimes when you're shooting late in the evening, you have a different camera settings because of late night, you're on high ISO, low shutter speed, and you go to your hotel or your room and you just close your camera, and next morning you just, you go out on the field with the same camera settings. So this can really ruin your shot. So always make sure you have the correct camera settings. Shoot raw. This is a rule that needs no explanation. You just have to shoot raw. JPEG is not the thing. If you want to be professional, have more details in your images, you always have to shoot raw images. Often take vertical photographs. Most of the people are only taking horizontal images, but vertical images are the ones that magazines want on their cover page or other things. So always make sure you do take vertical images also. Everyone does take horizontal, but vertical are also very important. Then again, a very basic tip, that battery charging. Sometimes you just forget these basic things, and then right in the middle of action, you see that you don't have enough batteries. So make sure you charge your battery every evening you come back from a shoot. Then sometimes this is very important that you have to ask permission before shooting, before photographing people. So you see how the situation is. Sometimes your guide or your friend can talk to them, and that will be much better before shooting people, especially when you're in a place where you don't speak the local language. So see how it goes. Sometimes you have to shoot, like I said, shoot in the moment. There have been situations where I saw a beautiful face or a beautiful activity that's taking place. So I took pictures and then I showed them and it was okay. And sometimes you have to ask before shooting people. So it depends. Then as a thumb rule, shoot during sunrise and sunset. I mean, I know it's a bit cliche, but still these are the two best lights that you have in a day. So always try and do every sunrise and every sunset. Shoot during those times. Then again, extra memory cards, clean your equipment lenses, just another few basic tips. Okay, these are again few things that going forward you have to practice, practice, and practice. There is no shortcut to be a travel photographer. You have to practice photography, photograph your neighborhood. This is another thing that people forget. It's not about how much geography you cover. You don't have to cover entire India to be a great photographer. You just cover your own city and you can come out with great images. Then again, travel as much as you can. I used to be traveling every weekend that I could. So again, traveling, photographing as much as you can will just build more confidence in you to shoot. I can shoot anywhere in any situation. I can go to anyone's house to shoot. If I have to go to a terrace, I can go to anyone's house, ring the bell and ask them, can I go to your terrace and shoot? So the more you shoot, the more confidence you'll get to take better pictures from various angles. Again, a practical thing that I'm seeing right now is people are really over editing their images. Instagram is full of images which are over edited, and you can see that these are not natural images. So refrain from those activity, have a natural look in your image. It should show that what time of day you have shot this image. So don't overkill your image. Just use Lightroom, very simple tools to work on your images. Don't over edit. Then upload your images on social media. This is again a thing that will give a lot of confidence to you because your friends will like your images, your other photographers will like it. So this will build more confidence in you. Then again, it will be great if you can have someone to critique your images. This will really help you in practical field. A pro photographer can let you know that what wrong you are doing, or he can let you know how good you are or how bad you are. And if you're a positive person, you can always learn from critique. So now I'll just quickly run through some of the images and then I think I'm done. So these are just some, all the pictures are from India. So just people, places, festival, landscape and buildings and wildlife. These are the type of travel photography that one can do, and you can do all, or you can start with festivals, then people, and then landscapes and buildings, or whatever way you like. These are just some of my people shot. I love taking portraits. So I'll just quickly run through them so that you just have an idea. So it's nice that the more places you can cover, and you don't have to go very far. Sometimes your own city can give you great images. Festivals is something that I love to cover. When I started, Venkat sir really helped me in covering all the festivals that I could. Like this is a festival in Gujarat of Naga Sadhus during Shivratri. Holi, which is one of the most important festival that a young photographer must cover or a new photographer must cover because you'll come out with some great images. Hola Mohalla in Punjab, Hornbill Festival. So covering festival is the best thing that you can do. Bharat Milap in Varanasi, Chhat Puja. This is again a festival of Dashera in Tamil Nadu. Pushkar Fair. Then landscape and buildings. Sorry, I said these two pictures are not from India, sorry. This is from Munnar, the tea gardens. This is Khibber village in Spiti. Khajuraho, Delhi, Jodhpur. Wildlife images are really nice, but again, you need a lot of patience. And also in wildlife images, you have to have a very serious equipment to get the best images. Then you have to have a lot of time and investment, because you have to go into the park, you have to get the right zone, and every safari that you take, you need to pay. So it comes with its own, I mean, it's financially burdening when you start doing wildlife. But the results are amazing, because wildlife photography is I think a very professional, and it's a serious thing that one can get into. Then just a small slide on how to submit your work to various magazines and other stuff. So choose a project that is close to your heart, cover all the aspect of your project. You can also start simple by covering a festival or a food of a city. That can be a great photo essay. So if you want to submit your images to, let's say, Nat Geo or Lonely Planet or the other magazines, so just choose a project that you think that you can connect to. If you like food, then it will be very easy for you to connect to food. If you are a foodie and you live in Delhi, then it will be very easy for you to cover like the 10 great restaurants of Delhi. If you're into art, you can cover 10 best artists of Delhi and shoot them. So choose a project that is close to you, that means something to you, and then it will be really easy for you to cover, and cover all the aspect. If you're doing a tribe, then cover everything about that tribe, what they eat, where they live, their houses, their dresses, when they're getting their festivals, their marriages, everything, so that it becomes a wholesome thing when you submit to a magazine. And don't hesitate on long-term projects. Sometimes we think that, oh, this project, like if you are planning on covering tribes of India, it will take probably 10 years to cover that, or 5 years to cover. So don't get afraid of doing that. Slowly start building up your portfolio. Okay, this is you can check my website, which is my full name, abhishekhajela.com, and my Instagram, you can follow me at Images by Abhishek. That's my Instagram handle, and that's my Facebook, Images by Abhishek. Okay, we are almost done.
Yeah, thank you, Abhishek. That was really inspiring, actually, for many of us, who do like to see photographs, and especially with this new cell phones where everybody is trying to click something. So it gives
Right,
a
right.
perspective how to use, and especially being a tourism kind of marketing professional, or who's involved in marketing, I know how important these images are when it comes to communicate. And several times I've called you in distress asking for this image and that image. So it is quite interesting for everybody in the industry to see, how photography is a part of the whole ecosystem of marketing, and how important it is. It
Sure,
is,
sir.
and there's so much of value when you look at the effort put in by the photographer, the time spent by him. So
Sure, sir.
when people say that no photos are expensive, it is not. It is, we have to appreciate the effort, time, and the difficulty faced. Like people sitting in some corner waiting for 4 hours, 5 hours for a shot, etc. Well,
Right,
Abhishek,
yes.
that was quite interesting, and I'm sure all our audiences would have also loved it, and many of them are students from IITTM and who have also been kind of learning photography as part of the curriculum. Now, coming
Okay.
to questions, there are some questions which
Yeah.
are here, which I would like to ask you.
Yes, sir. Mm,
Yeah, you can also look it up. It is there. Can you please brief about focus on the golden and blue hours? Do you have this? This is from Sunil. He wants to know what
yeah.
is
So
golden and blue hours.
golden hour is the time of early morning and the setting sun. These are the time when the light turns golden, because it's cross lighting, and it's one of the most important time when you can photograph. The light is beautiful, so that light is known as golden light. Then blue light is right after sunset. Right after sunset, the light turns almost blue. and after that it gets dark. Just after sunset and before dark is known as blue hour. So that is again a very important time, but that needs some more technique to shoot, but again a very good time to shoot. But I think you should never miss golden hour
Thank you,
when
Abhishek.
it comes to
Yeah, and
photography.
here Padma Gupta is asking, I have a DSLR
D
550D.
and new
Can you
configuration.
suggest a configuration for wildlife photography for a moving image?
Yeah, Padma, I think you can start by a basic wildlife lens, which can be something like a 100-400 or a 200 to 400. It depends on your budget, but I think Canon has a 200-500 lens, which is not very expensive. Also, another thing that you can look into is if you don't want to invest, you should take this lens on rent. Go on a trip, try it out. It doesn't matter if you have to pay 8-10,000, but you get to know how the lens is. And you can also write to Canon if they can give you a lens for a week to try. Now most of the camera companies have started doing this. You write to them, tell them about your portfolio, tell them about who you are, and ask them if you can have a lens for 1 week or 10 days to try. And so most of the time the camera company will give you the lens to try it out. And the second option is you can always rent it, and then if you get good result, then you can think about buying a lens, because wildlife lenses are expensive to start with.
Yeah, and here Mahesh is asking about how to monetize the photos, etc., on the digital platform. Can you tell about how does the dynamics of the Shutterstocks and other photo companies work for beginners?
See, for beginners, I think first of all you should not think about monetization, because if from the day one you start about thinking how I can get money, then you cannot concentrate on good images. I'm just telling you about my example. When I started, my main concern was to get good images. So I would like to tell you that concentrate on having good images. Once you have great images, everything will follow. Monetization, everything will come. But first, get good images. I mean, learn your skills, learn photography, learn everything about your camera. Start shooting. You should have a good image bank, and then slowly things will happen. Like I said, it's a very organic way. You cannot start photography and after 4 months you can start selling your images. That won't happen. You have to start clicking good images, excellent images, and then monetization will work.
Yeah, Abhishek, I have Kamal Sharma. He's from Chandigarh. He's again a photographer himself. He's asking any tips on photographing locals like Varanasi or Ladakh. Should we pay them as they ask? Uh, are there any guidelines or tips to be paid to your subjects?
See, again, this is a very, very tricky question, because sometimes when you pay them, it's nice that you are taking something and you're giving back something. Sometimes what happens that it just becomes a habit. So it just depends. Like sometimes I pay my subject because I take half an hour of them and I tell them to sit here or do like this or do that when I take their pictures. And it's always nice to give them something in return because you have also used their time. So I think I think for me as a photographer, I would always give them something, because it will be for other photographers also. When they come to photograph them, they'll feel that, okay, they're not people who just click pictures and run away. Because then if you start doing that, you click their pictures and then you don't pay them something and you just go away, then it leaves a bitter taste. And then next time if a photographer would come, they'll just say that, no, don't take any pictures. Because I
Right.
feel that we have taken something from them, so why not give something back to them?
Right. Somebody has put us this question. What is the starting model for amateurs beginning, considering the student's budget, etc.? What
So,
camera to buy?
so I think now most of the camera companies, Nikon, Canon, Olympus, they have a basic starting range. They also have student discounts. They also have, like I said, no EMI scheme for students. So I think it keeps on changing, but just go to any camera shop and just Google it. You can find a good camera for 25 to 30,000. Also, another tip is you can start with a second-hand camera. You can go to places like OLX. There are many people who buy camera and then they do nothing. And some of the cameras are literally new. So go on OLX, search for a second-hand camera, and you may get something for 15 to 20,000, a good camera.
And how about what is the ideal lens for travel photography,
I
Abhishek?
think ideal lens would be 24-70 or something, if a basic kit lens, which is 1855 or something like a 18-120 or 18-150, which covers a bigger ground.
Okay. And there's another question where they would like to know what is the most used editing app on your phone? Which app do you use?
See, for phone, I think either you can go with Snapseed, which is very famous. Snapseed is one, and then Lightroom Mobile is also an app that is really easy, really intuitive. And also now most of the phones come with a editing software. So sometimes like iPhone has a very good editing software of their own. But I think Snapseed is something which is good.
And now rains are around. How to keep your camera and gadgets safe during monsoon?
So this again depends if you are in a place like northeast of India where humidity is really high, you have to take care of your equipment. One of the safest thing that you can do is you can have them in air conditioning. If you cannot do that, then silicon gel comes in the, you must have seen when you buy anything new, these small gels come in, small packets of gels, which is known as silica or silicon gel. So you can buy those. They really sucks the moisture. So you can buy that. Or if you have more equipment, then you can buy these are special fridge refrigerators that come, which takes out the moisture
All right.
from our
Thank you.
equipment. But I think silica gel is easy and economical way.
Yeah. And another question is what we miss if you miss the golden and blue hours? Is there any other time which is good for photography other than these hours? Because a lot
Since
of action might be
yeah,
taking at some time in the
yeah,
middle of the
so
day. Yeah.
yeah, so I feel for a good picture, it doesn't matter what time of the day is. Yes, morning light and evening light is the best time, but sometimes you can shoot like if we are photographing, we are out the entire day and photographing. It doesn't matter. A nice shade is always good if you're taking a picture of or a portrait. You can always move your subject in a shade, and sometimes even pictures shot in bright daylight can also work. It just depends. So don't worry if you miss the day. Don't think that now you won't get good pictures. You can always get good images.
Yeah, thank you. And Tapan Mishra from Bhubaneswar wants to know, do you have any online teaching that you do or mentoring for people?
Not as of now because I was busy in taking, but now I am planning something. So once I do it, I will update.
And similarly, can you suggest some YouTubers that teach photography? You said there are so many YouTube lessons. So anything that you would recommend?
Uh, Personally, I feel, see, there are many photographers who are teaching online courses, even for free. There are also things like Petapixel. It's a big website, Petapixel, who have their videos out and they teach a lot of things. And there are also also photographers who are doing it. I think Steve McCurry has a small thing. He gives you tips on how to shoot. Then there are many, like there is one from US, Jared Pollan. He's one who you can see for reviews and he'll teach you a bit. So you just keep on researching and you'll get to many free videos on YouTube. So there are many there. You just have to search. I don't
Yeah.
look at them so much, but if you search, you'll start getting many photographers who are doing free sessions.
Yeah, and Abhimanyu Jindal is asking, you are when we shoot in festival like Holi, where there is so much of water and dust flowing around, how do you protect your equipment?
So one of the most economical way is to use polythene or plastic bags. You just make a nice plastic bag now I think you can have a YouTube also. You can see how to wrap your camera. But just basically it's common sense. You just wrap your camera in a plastic bag, cut out the lens so that lens can come out. And that's about it, and be a little careful. And now, especially most of the cameras, they come and they have like a, even like iPhone is not waterproof, but like water resistant. And even most of the cameras are kind of water resistant now. And the color powder doesn't matter. You can use a brush to clean it. So you can easily use your camera. It doesn't matter so much now.
And also, when you are approaching a subject and when you start asking for permission, sometimes it becomes kind of a setting rather than spontaneous. So how do you deal on what is your thought about it?
See, again, these are two situations. If you see something spontaneous happening, just that's what I explained. If you see something spontaneous happening, just click. Then don't go and ask them. Then he'll be very conscious that you are standing there, your subject. So if you see that he's doing something which is excellent for your picture, just then take the picture.
Fine.
But if you have a beautiful face who's sitting and doing nothing and in a bad light or a bad background, and then you want him to sit in a good background so that you can take a nice picture, then obviously you have to ask. Otherwise, your picture won't have, a good background and it won't work.
And for somebody who is in a class 12 and wants to take a career in photography, are there any professional courses which?
Yes, there are. I think in Pune, there is a very big institute which is run by Bharatiya Vidyapeeth. The Bharatiya Vidyapeeth University has a photography department and they give a graduation degree in photography. So you can look at that. And then in Ooty also there is a school. So
Fine.
there are 3 or 4 schools who teach photography and give you a diploma degree.
Fine. Right. Thank you, Abhishek, for patiently kind of answering all our questions. And I also
Thank
thank
you,
all
sir.
our participants who have joined us today. It was wonderful learning a lot of insights about travel photography and what makes a great picture. And dear audience and visitors who are here in our webinar today, we would like to inform you from the 15th of 21st of June, we will be having a series of webinars uh, for the International Day of Yoga. We have a lot many experts who will be joining us and sharing various things on various aspects of mindful living and also some aspects of yoga, wellness, food, health, etc. Please stay tuned on our Facebook and our Instagram pages, and hope to see you again soon. Thank you once again, Abhishek. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. See you. Thank you. Bye, sir. Thank
Bye.
you.